and we're here to stop the machine.
Why is it that we only come true when times of crisis? Can recognize the need while we stare at our devices. See, I got the graph and I got the stats and I got the need to keep people from the rats. More than simply a game.
And I know we will succeed because workers united will never be divided. Workers united will never be divided. Workers united will never be divided.
Occupy San Diego really broadened our documentary's message. We came into this project expecting something very dry and boring. I know we had little hope to be exposed to anything significant. However, John and I were really exposed to the reality of the world that we had never seen or heard of before. TV doesn't correctly illustrate the density or morality of labor. Labor really isn't even covered in schools. We were able to take a project about institutional powers and the reality of the American dream, and we investigated and discovered the truth and voiced it into this documentary.
We continue tonight our coverage of the Occupy Wall Street protest. In September, a small group of activists started camping out in Zuccotti Park. They claim to draw their inspiration from the Arab Spring. Since then, protests have spread to other major cities in the United States and around the world.
These people are very clear about what they want, and what they want is to reverse the corporate coup d'etat. This is a reaction, I think, to the collapse of globalization, which is ricocheting around the globe.
Central banking, the way it is now, controlled by a very wealthy elite, is oppressing the rest of us. We're essentially eating the crumbs off the big piece of the pie that they've taken.
So what will the impact of OWS, Occupy Wall Street, be on the labor movement? Well, it could spark the idea within the rank and file that it's right to rebel, and it is. I mean, this country was born with that idea.
Now, to balance the scale, I'd like to talk about some things that bring us together. Things that point out our similarities instead of our differences. Because that's all you ever hear about in this country is our differences. That's all the media and the politicians are ever talking about, the things that separate us, things that make us different from one another. That's the way the ruling class operates in any society. They try to divide the rest of the people. They keep the lower and the middle classes fighting with each other so that they, the rich, can run off with all the fucking money. Fairly simple thing, happens to work. You know, anything different, that's what they're going to talk about. Race, religion, ethnic and national background, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality, anything you can do, keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank. You know how I describe the economic and social classes in this country? The upper class keeps all of the money, pays none of the taxes. The middle class pays all of the taxes, does all of the work. The poor are there just to scare the shit out of the middle class. Keep them showing up at those jobs.
We quickly realized our documentary was steering into a question of the morality of labor. We wanted to expose the ethics and civil principles of the topic at hand, so we could better understand the reasons for the current social unrest that's taking place across the globe. Namely, what Occupy Wall Street is trying to convey.
The boss was definitely trying to control, and I think bosses at the time, during an age of industrialization, were trying to maybe replace the mind of the workers by simplifying their tasks and making, repetitive, monotonous jobs so that the workers would become machines in themselves, and you could interchange those workers with relative ease, and their knowledge base that they had before, where they could see a product from start to finish, would somehow disappear. So they sort of banded together in these guilds or skilled labor unions to gain some sort of leverage over the bosses and the automation and the industrialization that was coming ahead of them.
And the exchange for that, this is historically correct, the exchange that's made is you give me dues check off, you make these people pay dues, and I will sell you their labor and promise you they won't do anything on the job, and I'll stop them if they try. That's exactly what happens. Now, when you see, like in Wisconsin, you saw that people were fighting for collective bargaining. Well, they'd already given up everything the governor wanted. The only thing that they were actually fighting for was dues checkoff.
I just think the Tea Party line of telling, government to get out of everything, if we let the free market do what it wants, the free market wants to make money. The free market unfettered doesn't work. It has to be a combination of, the government working with free market, but one or the other alone doesn't do it. And we need to get back to working together.
Maybe this terrific idea, Occupy Wall Street, that's a good idea. It's not a long-term strategy. We need an idea that people can passionately connect to. This takes passion. You got to really care. If you don't care, then this is nothing. An idea, passion, organization. If it has a good idea, if it has good leadership, if it's open yet not stupid, then it'll grow.
After looking into the truth of labor, we then turned our attention to the American dream. We asked our interviewees about their opinion of it and whether or not it's still achievable today.
The American dream, to me, seems like it's inequitable. There's an inequity built into the system that I don't think that I'm going to get further on in any of these financial schemes. Personally, I don't want to be a part of it anymore. And that only has one result, and that is oppression for the rest of us. I don't want to be a debt slave anymore.
In my personal opinion, and I've been meeting with Occupy San Diego for about 10 days now to get this organized, and we don't feel that the American dream exists anymore at all.
So I just think if you work hard, you can make what you want out of your life. It might not be a material, wealth, which happens to be kind of important to me, but whatever it is that your dream is, if you work hard in America, you should be able to achieve it. And I don't think that's possible today.
Well, they're real to the point that people are willing to actually back them up and support them. I see that people, more people know who are the judges of the X Factor than they know who are judges of the Supreme Court.
So that might have been the American dream, but it was a fraud. It was based in the American empire, and it was made possible because the U.S. was not destroyed by World War II like most of the countries in the world were. So maybe America in the 50s looked like that, but it was a fraud. It couldn't be sustained. Capitalism doesn't work like that. Capitalism creates and requires inequality internationally, nationally. Capitalism began to leave the United States because it wasn't performing as well and go elsewhere. So the American dream, historically not true, momentarily a reality for white working class people in the 50s, and then it became a fraud again.
The American dream that most people would associate it, the majority of people call the American dream, no, it's not being fulfilled. Or at this point, nothing even close to that's being fulfilled for anybody unless you're the 1%. So the American dream, maybe it's time to come up with a new dream. Maybe it's time to, maybe that's one of the things that the movement should try to do, is redefine what it is to be an American and what the dream should really be.
The discoveries and enlightenments that John and I have made throughout the course of this investigation have been remarkable. Who could have anticipated that in 2011 a pivotal social movement would occur in the United States and spread across the world on behalf of the economically disenfranchised? Certainly the United States is in for an exciting change of our current social, political, and economic structures.
Don't you know, talking about a revolution sounds sweet. Don't you know, talking about a revolution sounds sweet. While they're standing in welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time.